All right, let's get into it. We're about to pull back the curtain on one of the strangest and, frankly, most terrifying chapters in the history of American intelligence. We're talking about Project MKUltra.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It sounds like something straight out of a Jason Bourne movie, right? The idea that some secret group could reach into your head, tweak your thoughts, and control what you do. But what if it wasn't fiction?
That's the kicker. This whole insane project wasn't some evil plan for world domination. It was born out of pure, uncut Cold War paranoia. The CIA was convinced they were already losing a secret war for the human mind. To really get what MKUltra was all about, you have to understand the fear that created it. This wasn't just some experiment. It was a panicked reaction to a threat they thought was very, very real.
I mean, just look at how fast this was happening. After World War II, communism was spreading like a tidal wave. First, the Soviets locked down Eastern Europe, and then boom, China, the biggest country on Earth, goes red. To the folks in American intelligence, this just didn't seem natural. It was happening way too fast.
So they cooked up this wild theory. They decided it couldn't be a popular movement. No way! The Soviets must have some secret mind control weapon, a technology that could brainwash entire countries. To them, it was the only thing that made sense.
And that quote right there, that says it all. Their thinking was simple. If the enemy has a mind control weapon, we need one too, and we need it now. All of a sudden, ethics were out the window. It was about survival. And that simple idea opened the door to some truly horrific stuff.
So with that mindset locked in, the stage was set. You had fear, you had a blank check from the government, and from that, the CIA launched what would go down in history as its most infamous operation, Project MKUltra. Now the key word here is secrecy. When this thing kicked off in 1953, it was born in the deepest, darkest shadows. We're talking so top secret that not even the President of the United States really knew what was going on. The CIA basically had a green light to do whatever they thought was necessary.
And every dark project has its mastermind. Meet Sidney Gottlieb. This guy was the perfect person for this job, which is exactly what made him so dangerous. He wasn't just some suit in an office. He was a seasoned spy and, this is the important part, a brilliant chemist. He had the spy skills and the science smarts to make this happen.
Now, while other people were imagining giant brainwashing machines and sci-fi gadgets, Gottlieb had a much simpler and scarier idea. He believed the real key to controlling the human mind wasn't technology, it was chemistry. He was totally convinced that with the right drug, you could shatter a person's personality and build a new one from scratch.
And this is where the whole thing takes a nosedive into pure evil. Because to test these theories, Gottlieb needed guinea pigs. And they decided the best guinea pigs would be people who had no earthly idea they were part of an experiment. The project basically split into two main attacks on the mind. On one side, you had Gottlieb and his chemical approach, focusing heavily on the super powerful hallucinogen LSD. And on the other, you had this psychiatrist, Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron, who was all about psychological attacks, what he literally called engineered torture. One wanted to break the mind with drugs, the other with pure trauma.
Gottlieb's method was it was devious. CIA agents would go undercover into places where people were vulnerable. We're talking hospitals, prisons, even schools. They'd walk up to someone, an American citizen, and say, "Hey, we've got this new wonder drug for you." But it was actually a dose of LSD. And then they'd just watch. They'd watch these people's minds unravel and take notes.
Dr. Cameron's work, though, that was something else entirely. It was like a living nightmare. He'd lock someone in a totally white, soundproof room. For hours, even days, they'd be blasted with flashing lights, while a single word or phrase was just repeated over and over and over again. The goal was to literally erase their mind, just wipe it clean through sheer sensory hell.
So, after years of these horrible experiments, what did the CIA have to show for it? Well, not only did they failed in the most ironic, spectacular way you can possibly imagine.
Let's just remind ourselves of the mission here. The whole point of MKUltra was to create a real-life Manchurian candidate, a programmable human being who would do anything they were told without question. That was the dream.
But get this is the ultimate punchline. In the 1960s, they sent agents to college campuses to secretly dose students with LSD and study the results. And by doing that, they introduced this powerful drug to an entire generation. So instead of creating obedient government agents, they helped create the anti-government, anti-establishment hippie movement. The very drug they thought would ensure control became a symbol of breaking free.
But the bizarre legacy of this project doesn't stop there. There's another, much darker twist that suggests their research might have ended up in the absolute worst hands imaginable.
Now, this is just a theory, but it's a chilling one. Some experts have argued that Charles Manson, who spent a lot of time in prisons and hospitals where we know MKUltra experiments were happening, was actually a product of the program. He's somehow figured out how to do what the CIA never could, achieve complete and total mind control over his followers, his family. These people committed unspeakable murders, like killing Sharon Tate, all because he told them to. The CIA failed, but in a twisted, horrifying way, their work found a successor.
So how does a secret that big, that dark, finally get dragged into the light? Well, as it usually happens in Washington, it couldn't stay buried forever. So in the early 70s, you've got reporters sniffing around, publishing stories about the CIA spying on Americans. The public starts getting angry, the pressure builds, and in 1973, the CIA quietly shuts MKUltra down. Then, a few years later, in '76, President Ford signs an executive order making it illegal to experiment on U.S. citizens without them knowing about it and agreeing to it.
And here's the final report card. After 20 years, countless illegal experiments, and who knows how many lives destroyed, what did they accomplish? Absolutely nothing. It was a complete and total failure. They weren't any closer to controlling a human mind than when they started.
So yes, the project itself was a spectacular failure. But does that mean the idea, the dream of controlling how people think, just went away?
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. Maybe the goal of mind control never vanished. Maybe it just evolved. Maybe it just changed its methods. Today, you don't need drugs or torture chambers to shape what people believe. All you need is control over the information they see every single day. The war for the mind might not be over. It might have just gone digital.